I must have been about 6 or 7 when I lived in Lebanon. The country was ravaged by war, and murders were frequent. I remember during a particularly vicious era when bombings rarely stopped, I would stay at home, sitting in front of the television watching a just very strange and fucked up show. It was a kid show that lasted about 30 minutes and contained strange and sinister images. To this day, I believe it was a thinly veiled attempt on the part of the media to use scare tactics to keep bad kids in place, because the moral of every episode revolved around very uptight ideologies. Stuff like, bad kids stay up late, bad kids have their hands under the covers when they sleep, and bad kids steal from food at the fridge at night. It was a very weird show, and it was in Arabic to top it all off. I didn't understand much of it, but for the most part, the images were very graphic and comprehensive. The thing that stuck with me the most was a weird closing scene. It reminded me much of this. It remained much the same episode. The camera would zoom in on an old, rusted, closed door. As it got close to the door, strange and sometimes agonizing screams would be heard and become more audible. It was an extremely frightening scene, and especially for children's programming. Then the text would appear on the screen in Arabic writing that stated, "That's where bad kids go." Eventually, both the image and sound would fade out, and that would be the end of the episode. About 15 or 16 years later, I became a journalistic photographer. That show had been in my mind all my life, popping up in my thoughts sporadically. Eventually, I said I had enough and decided to do some research. I finally managed to uncover the location of the studio where much of that channel's programming had been recorded. Upon further research and eventually traveling up on the site, I found out it was now desolate and abandoned after the big war ended. I entered the building with my camera. It was burnt out from the inside. Either a fire had broken out or someone wanted to incinerate all the wood and furniture. After a few hours of curiously making my way through the studio and snapping pictures, I found a isolated out-of-the-way room. After breaking through a few locks and managing to break down the heavy door, I remained frozen in the doorway for several long minutes. Traces of blood, feces, and tiny bone fragments lay scattered across the floor. It was a small room and an extremely morbid scene. What truly frightened me, though, was what made me turn away and never want to come back, was the bolted, caged microphone hanging from the roof in the middle of the room.